Hi, Weirdos! Welcome to another episode of Keep It Weird, the podcast for all things strange and unusual, haunting and heartfelt, bubbly and blood-sucking, and everything in between. Every time we get together, we talk about something weird, and this week is no exception, because it's October Witches! And what do we do in October? We watch horror movies. Horror! It's always been on the cutting edge, whether you're talking about the genre being the forerunner in makeup and special effects, or Hitchcock's camera work changing film forever, or even giving women the first place where they could be capable, strong, and sometimes quite scary. Horror has paved the way for generations of us. But there is one area of society in which horror has not only been an inspiration, but a welcome home. Today, we're going to be discussing the history of queer horror, from the gothic novels of the 1800s to classic monster films of the 1930s, to the sleazy pulp novels, to 80s camp, and on and on and on, all the way to today. The LGBTQ community has been represented, dissected, examined, and celebrated in the horror genre, and it's one of the many, many reasons that I'm proud to be a part of the horror community. So, let's drink some blood, transform under the full moon, lather on the lipstick, step into our platform heels, and ask, would you fuck me? I'd fuck me. I'd fuck me so hard. Today,
oh my gosh,
we are queer for fear. My name is Ashley, and this is my co-host Lauren.
Hello, weirdos! What an intro by Ashley. My goodness.
You're welcome.
Woo! Happy to be here, and happy to have gone on that beautiful journey that ended in probably the best way you've ever ended an
only
intro.
Just beginning.
Let's get it.
Joining us today is a horror fan, an American author, a playwright, and the theater director of HELLGATE High in Missoula, Montana. It's one of my favorite people on earth, Laramie Dean.
Hi, weirdos.
Hello,
Hi.
Laramie Dean. Your name has been mentioned on this podcast for years. Honestly, we even at one point. Yes.
Oh, it's my book.
Black Forest by Laramie Dean. We gave away a copy of this. I actually have an extra copy of this too from the last time we did this that I found. So we're going to do another giveaway.
Oh,
my
that's
gosh.
rad.
Or our patrons.
perfect.
So if you are a patron of the show, your name's going to go in the bucket. You might get a copy of Laramie's book, Black Forest.
Ooh, ooh, ooh.
Laramie, introduce yourself. How'd you get into horror?
Hi. I was born into it.
I was born into this.
Was born into this dark life.
I opened my eyes and I went, wow, this is horrifying. And it was
Wow,
all,
it sucks here.
it was all
We're living in a
gaily
nightmare.
forward since then. I am from a little teeny tiny ranch in eastern Montana where it is, I was going to say where the wind comes whipping down the plain, but that's Oklahoma. And
We have several episodes, by the way, about how crazy ranches are and how you should never ever be on one because they're all haunted.
Seriously.
Apparently. So
They're all either haunted or abductions happen or
Yep.
they're silenced. We don't know what's going on.
that's what my new book Haunt Me then is about.
Yes.
Yes. It's I'm calling it Big Gay Montana Wuthering Heights. That's the elevator pitch, and it is the best elevator pitch of the whole world.
Perfect.
Big Gay, yeah, it's called Haunt Me
in.
Then. It's out from Horror Smith on October 14th, so just
Hell
in time.
yeah.
Just in
Woo-hoo-hoo.
time. But yeah, it takes place
Just in
on the a thinly disguised version of the ranch where I grew up. I was into The Wicked Witch of the West when I was like 3 or 4, and then Dracula and Silver Bullet and American Werewolf in London when I was probably 6 or 7, and Stephen King sent me an autographed copy of the novel and the screenplay of Cycle of the Werewolf and Silver Bullet, and then my mother, who is the most amazing human being in the world, I asked her to read me a story one day, and she's like, "No, you read to me." And all of a sudden, the words came together and the letters came together, and I was like, "See ya."
Guess I'm a writer forever.
I've become a writer now. Here it is.
Grabbed a book, and she got me a typewriter when I was 7 or 8,
Oh,
and yeah, so
good mom.
she's always encouraged. Yeah,
Shout
always
out to good
encouraged.
moms, man.
I know.
The three of us all have good moms.
Oh
That's
my
so
God,
amazing.
it's such a requirement for
It makes
happiness.
the difference.
Such a
Oh
relief.
my
Such a
God,
relief.
she gave me she was reading Salem's Lot when I was probably 7 or 8, and it had the pictures from the 1979 movie.
Oh,
So there's Reggie Nalder with the big buck beaver fangs, the Nosferatu teeth, and
Mhm.
and I read it and loved it, and had a couple of questions like, what is an erection? And my mom was like, well,
Sure. I guess this is how we learn about it. Let's go.
this is how we learn. So and I just dived into the world of horror, and in the 80s it was hard because nothing was available. You had to like work to find it, and we only had 3 channels on our little television until we got a satellite dish. When we got a satellite dish, all of a sudden I was like, oh, Taste the Blood of Dracula is on. I've been wanting to see that forever. And then we moved from the ranch to Missoula, Montana when I was 13, and video stores were a thing, and I could
Oof.
I rented The Shining, and was horrified by the oral sex dog guy. And
Oh my gosh.
weren't we
yeah.
all?
yes, I was like,
Like-
oh, I did not. My mom and I watched it when I was 7 or 8. I remembered the bathtub lady. I did not remember the creepy dog bear suit person. Didn't remember
Mhm.
him, and was by myself watching that in our little trailer in Missoula while everyone else was gone, and the sun was coming through. It was a beautiful day in August, and I'm going, what the fuck?
What did I just see?
What the fuck is this? Yeah. So I have always wanted to be a writer since I was teeny tiny, and sort of making my own books and writing my own stories. I found mom actually has been cleaning out some rooms and found a horror comic I made based on Creepshow when I was 7 or 8.
Oh,
That
was
is
like, oh,
so
incredible.
I
badass.
remember this. Yeah. So I've always been into the horrorness.
That is so cool.
I always knew that I was too, but it's the same. Like I go back to my parents' house and like I'll look through like old books that I had, and it's all like I was a teenage werewolf, or like I got abducted by aliens in the neighborhood. Like every single little children's book that I was reading was creepy. And I was like, well, okay, yeah, it's just always been this way. Good to know. My taste hasn't changed since
Right.
1988.
Well, I'm like,
Scary stories to tell in the dark was always sitting at the end of my bed, and like I know those are classic and so many kids had them, but I had plenty of friends.
Yes.
That's exactly right.
right
I
on
would
my
have plenty
right
of
on my writing
friends
desk.
who would come over and be like, ah, because they would see like the illustration on the front, and like probably run home and be like, I'm never going over to their house
Oh
again.
yeah. Do you remember when they changed those? They
Do
published new
I?
editions, and I was like, oh no.
It was about 2012, 2013, because I worked at Barnes and Noble at the time. And I remember like
They
you
ruined
always
it.
get like a sheet of like what the new release is going to be for that week. And I saw like Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. And I was like, wait, what? And they were like, yeah, they're re-releasing them. And I was like, no freaking way.
Mm-mm.
And I remember getting the cart when the new releases came out. And I went and I like, my face looking at it, you would have thought it was horror, because I was looking at it like,
like, what the fuck?
Why?
What did you
No!
do? They're so
Ruined this.
sanitized, and nothing is dripping, and there's no weird
No.
little vine
there's
thing.
no
be
pus. There's
melting.
no.
They should be falling apart and melting in the pictures. Like, no.
Well, and,
Where
you know,
is
a
the
lot
pus?
Where is the pus? Give me the pus.
Give
We
me
want
the pus.
The thing about those stories too is a lot of them are pretty. I mean, there are some horrifying ones. There's Harold the Scarecrow who skins people
I mean,
alive,
I
but a lot
Scariest
of
one.
them,
Ugh.
a lot of them are simply, you know, urban legends. Like
Sure,
nothing
that we had heard
quite so
already.
scary. But when you add the art,
The
all of a
Gamble
sudden,
Pictures. Yeah.
holy
Well,
moly,
you know,
it's
it was a
scary.
whole nother level.
Speaking of Harold, the first there's something about that story where if you are not familiar with these books, go get them right now. We'll wait. Okay, good. So
Okay,
there's
got them.
they buckle back. The two guys, what they make a scarecrow and they call it Harold and they abuse it. And then one day it gets up and goes to the roof and is like trotting back and forth. And something about that idea of this thing trotting back and forth scared the hell out of me. So Black Forest actually opens with the protagonist looking out the window, and there's this guy who's dead staring up at his window with a skeleton face who's trotting back and forth on his lawn, and that image just freaks the hell out of me. So thank you,
Oof, yeah.
Thank you, Scary
Alvin
Stories to
Schwartz,
Tell.
and thank you, Stephen Gamble. Yeah, well, it's interesting you say that you always knew you liked horror. It's really connected to my gay identity too. Of always knew I was into horror, always knew I was gay, always, and they're really inextricably linked. Ashley, do you remember when Ashley and I went to school together at
We went to school
SIUC,
together.
Southern Illinois
Shout
University,
out.
Carbondale,
Shout
go
out to
Salukis.
Salukis.
I did part of my dissertation was a one-person show called Other Natural that was all about
Mhm.
me growing up in being gay in Montana and how being into horror and monsters and vampires and Stephen King and all of this informed my identity. And when I came out in high school, it was actually really helpful. I had just read Interview with the Vampire. I was 13. Our neighbor lady was like, "I think you would like this book," and I was like, "I think you are right." And
I think you're correct.
I think you read me like a book. This is gonna be great.
And I read all the rest of them, and I was like, oh God, I am gay, I am gay, I am gay, I am gay. Thank you, Anne Rice. So I always throw a shout out to Anne Rice for helping me with my coming out.
I think she's helped quite a few people.
She has.
with their
Yes, I
coming
Her
was
son
out.
gonna
Christopher
say.
Rice is here in Montana like this weekend, like
Oh,
100 miles. Yeah, and at a writer's thing, and I was like, I can't go to it, but it would be really, really awesome because he's an out gay author too, who writes some speculative fiction too. So
that's how I know Anne Rice is a good person, because she got to have a child who turned out to be gay. And that is something that only God could have given her
That is exactly right.
as a gift.
here's Christopher
She
Rice.
has a good soul.
Enjoy
She was
him.
gifted. Yes.
She was a
She was
lovely
gifted
woman.
a gay son. So horror is something that we talk about on the podcast many times before. We've had episodes dedicated to specific horror movies, like season 5, episode 35. We had an episode called Real Horror, REEL. We thought that was really clever.
You get it. Katie, you get
Do
it.
you get it? Because
Puns.
real, like film reels,
Yeah.
and nothing's
Like
scarier
the
than
dog.
puns. You can ask Tales from the Crypt about that. So, but it was an episode about horror based on real events. So we covered Jaws, we covered The Witch. What did you
The
cover,
Texas
Lauren?
Chainsaw Massacre.
Who knows? That was
Who knows
like
what Lauren
80 years
covered?
ago.
We don't know.
I know.
That was
I know. What did I cover? I know.
Back in season 1, we had a horror movie episode about horror movies that had creepy things happen on set.
Mm-hmm.
And even last season, we had What Lies Beneath the Amityville Horror on Haunted Hill, where we discussed haunted house movie tropes and their real life counterparts. So today, we're hoping to have you looking at some classic horror fiction in a completely different way, in a much gayer way. And as you were saying, Laramie, horror, I feel, is queer in general. Like, it's not, I don't think it is the norm to enjoy being frightened. Like, every time I meet someone and they apologize to me because they know that it's like my thing, and they're like, "I'm so sorry, I hate horror movies." I'm like, here's the thing, I don't get that at all, but I also don't think that that's weird. I think that you're probably healthier in your brain than I am, because that seems normal.
That's where
to not want to have nightmares.
The whole idea of queer horror comes from, because it's positioned with what is quote normal unquote, what is the other, and then the relationship between them. I have this fantastic book by Harry Benshoff called Monsters in the Closet, which I used to read when I was a kid, and it is this fantastic book about queer horror. And there's, because I'm also a huge fan of Bewitched, the second episode of Bewitched, or third episode, when Darren meets Endora, Samantha's mother, and he says, "We just want to be normal," and she says, "Well, what is normal to you is to us asinine. Samantha is what she is, and that you cannot change." And that resonated with me when I was a little kid so much, where I was like, yeah, you think this is normal, but I don't, and
Yeah.
what is then the relationship, the tension, the overlap between all of that. So it totally makes sense to me that people are like, oh, I don't like this, or I don't like to be scared, or they're always like, why do you like this? And I'm like, why don't you?
Why don't you?
Why don't you? I think the problem is with you.
Right.
Well, and I think this probably goes hand in hand too. Like, I grew up like doing theater, community theater, since I was like 5, 6, and everyone I knew in the theater community also liked horror. So I feel like that also kind of goes hand in hand, because of course that is also where I met some of like my first friends at a young age in the queer community. But it was like we were all called the strange theater kids at our different schools, and then we'd all come together in the winter and the summer to have 3 months of bliss doing shows together, being the weirdos we could be together, but also loving horror together. And so it's been this fun weaving growing up, is that like everyone who's my people in my head, I'm like, they get it.
Yeah,
Like,
well,
that's
and
normal.
how theatrical. I mean, horror is theatrical. It's
Is
performative.
theatrical.
It's big. It's large. I
Over
mean,
the
even if you,
top.
yeah, it has to be. Even if
That's why it's the
you
best.
are Stephen King and you create like this weird little community, well, then here comes the Tommy knockers, or here comes the vampires, here comes whatever it is that is that is huge and weird and other and terrifying. And I spent so much of my growing up identifying with Carrie and identifying with the witch and identifying with the vampire, and but at the same time like wanting to be scared. Like I still maintain to this day that I do not like my vampires to be super sympathetic. Interview with the Vampire aside, I want scary. Well, I don't know. The thing about Salem's Lot and Invasion of the Body Snatchers and the Stepford Wives that scares me so much is because it's like you're you, and then someone comes along and takes away your agency and turns you into something else, and you're not you anymore. You look like you sound like you're not you. But I mean that I guess that also connects to this idea of my queerness, because I like who I am. I like I like being gay, and I don't want someone to come along and I mean, this is why conversion camps from many reasons are scary. But even the word conversion, I don't want to be converted. Don't convert me.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, if I could be gayer, I'd be happier, I think. Like, I feel like
more gay.
More gay, more pus, more gay,
more pus, more gay.
As a little kid growing up in Southern Illinois, like the gay people that I knew were not overtly gay. They were, my aunt who lived with a woman that they were friends. You know what I mean? Like,
roommates.
I didn't know. So like the first introduction I even had, and I didn't have cable, so I had old VHSs that people would pass down to me. And so like the first introduction I had to like any gay culture were things like Rocky Horror Picture Show, or even like Texas Chainsaw Massacre Next Generation, or Death Becomes Her, which like doesn't have a gay person in the movie, but it is inherently
the gayest movie.
Gay.
It is like the gayest
so,
movie. It just
that
is.
Culture, the only in I had was horror movies that I was obsessed with.
So real.
And so like knowing that like, oh, I like this. I don't know why I like this. I don't even know what it is about this that I like so much. And then growing up and being like, oh, I just love drag queens. Like that, honestly.
Exactly.
Okay.
I totally
All
had that
right.
thought with Rocky Horror. Like Ashley and I both connected on that. Like that has been a long-standing like movie in our lives. I mean, of course, but yeah, I was always like, why do I love this? And I kind of had that same moment, which it took like way too long into like high school and college to be like, oh, I just really love drag queens and I love this community and I love the over the top. And yes.
Rocky Horror was the first gay anything that I actually ever saw that was explicitly gay. The video came out in the summer of 1990, and my best friend's mom knew what it was, and she rented it, and I was 11, and my best friend was 12, and we sat and watched it, and that moment where Frankenfurter, like, has a moment with Brad, and I was like, oh.
Ugh.
Oh.
Okay, here we are.
Wait a minute.
All right.
I'm
Jump right
gay.
I'm gay.
Well, I got
know
to play Riff Raff in the musical version
Oh,
several years
oh, hell
afterwards.
yeah.
And it was very
Beautiful.
very coming home for me. I was very like, oh,
Love that.
sing and have my hump and
Yeah.
my
Sing
my
and
ray
have
gun.
my
and-
hump.
Lauren and I are doing Magenta and Columbia
Oh.
this Halloween, so
Oh,
I'm very
perfect.
excited. I've never
I'm
actually
so
done a
excited.
Rocky Horror costume, so
Me
Really?
either. I only have to like go to the showings at
Yeah.
the midnight showings. That's it.
yeah, and that's not really a costume as much as it is like, what do I have that has sequins and shows my nipples?
Yes, correct. Like I just wore like the most
top
showing
20
outfit. Like I
outfits.
just wore
Yeah.
nothing. Yeah.
But anyways, today we are going to break down horror fiction throughout the centuries to show you just how gay it
Centuries.
all is, in the hopes that you broaden your horizons as well within the genre. Hopefully you'll learn some cool new things, and maybe you're going to watch your favorite horror movies a little differently the next time around. So we are going to start in the 1800s. We're going to start with the classic Gothic novels in a section we are calling Queer Expression Through Allegory.
Because that's what you had to do.
That's what you had to do.
It was all
The only way you
allegorical.
Yeah.
We had Oscar Wilde, Bram Stoker, Mary Shelley,
Mm.
even H.G. Wells to some extent. I'm going to throw him in there. Their stories have withstood the passing of time. Why do we think that is?
I only very recently have read about Bram Stoker and his intense love for Walt Whitman.
Intense.
Intense.
Boy,
like,
he loved. Well, I don't even know, like, if he ever met him or if he was just
Nope.
obsessed with
Or
him.
was it
just obsessed
obsession
with
so
him.
far?
Just
yeah,
obsessed.
no.
Really?
Yep. I think he wrote him letters.
Dang.
Yeah. And the
Ooh,
fact
okay.
that Bram Stoker's, I was like, Dracula was one of those, I'm going to call it an text, text. For me, like
Mhm.
Dracula, and it still is one of my favorite published plays I have is my adaptation of Dracula. That was a life goal when I was a kid, was to like get my version of Dracula out there. And it makes total sense that Bram Stoker was like this repressed, some spectrum. I was reading something that was like, oh, he was a closeted gay man. And I was like, well, that's a little simplistic. But he for sure was living at the time of Oscar Wilde, who had a thing for his wife. some kind of thing for Florence Stoker. I don't know what it was, but I just think it's so interesting that like one of these, I mean, they're called the Horror Writers Association Awards, or the Stoker, right? You win a Bram Stoker
Totally.
award. Like
You win a
he's
Stoker.
he's a thing. And the fact that he was like one of us.
He was also kind of not successful in his time. It wasn't, his novel
Yeah.
didn't really gain the success that it did until long after he had passed. So he's another one of those artists that you think about where you're like, oh, they weren't famous. They weren't rolling in the dough, the famous author of Dracula. Like, it didn't come around until he was gone.
Long dead. And nothing else that he's written has ever, I mean, Lair of the White Worm is famous, but I think it's only famous because of the Ken Russell
film
movie.
adaptations.
Yeah, with
Yeah.
Amanda Donoghue, which is also very, very
Incredibly
queer and wonderful.
gay.
Yeah. So, and Stoker, I mean, Stoker owed a lot to J.S. Lefanu, who wrote Camilla,
yes,
which is
Irish.
which is like the most
author.
famous,
Just reading
the other famous 19th century vampire story, because
Lesbian
Yes, the
I was gonna
lesbian.
say, going the
And it
lesbian
is.
way.
not even subtle.
Not even. It's just
not
like, here
even
it
a
is,
bit.
and this is what it is. Yeah, which I appreciate.
yes. And
I think that's why they do stand the test of time.
Well, and
Like
people-
we can all look back
I
and be like,
it's-
thank you for paving the way, even if you were not appreciated then. Like,
and it's all you had, right? Like that's kind of why I love being in the 21st. One of the reasons I love being in the 21st century is because
One of the few.
The coding the coding isn't gone, but a lot of the coding now, you can actually have stories where the monster is not coded as queer. I mean, look at the adaptation of Interview with the Vampire for AMC. In the books, in the books it's still pretty, like, no one ever comes out and says I'm gay, and in
Exactly,
the TV show it is explicit. It
Mhm.
is the
Yeah.
coding made explicit, and I love that.
Even the
Yeah.
Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt film, which
Mhm.
like you watch and the sexual tension is clearly there. Like the actors
Yes.
knew what they were doing,
Yeah.
Right.
and you could feel it, but they never actually
Just said it.
Yep.
fuck.
One
Which
on one.
like
Yeah, which
I
is what
know.
they do in
please,
the
We
new
we
show.
wish.
Yeah.
wish.
Oh, I was there. I was in the movie theater in 1994 watching when Antonio Banderas and Brad Pitt are like, get closer, closer, and I'm going,
You're
do
like,
it, do it, do it. And the guy
Kiss him,
and the
kiss
guy
him.
behind me goes, yeah. I was like, you
Ugh.
shut your mouth.
You shut your mouth. Have you
you
ever
know,
read a book?
you just turn around, dump popcorn. I was like, just get. Go on, get.
Why are you even here?
I know.
And so now we actually can have that, but in the
Right.
18th and 19th century, it all had to be super coded and
Under the radar.
yeah.
To be fair, though, the coding, I think, is what potentially made them last as long as they did, because
Right.
we still read novels from the
Mhm.
1800s. We've got Wuthering
Mhm.
Heights, we have Great Expectations, we have The
Mhm.
Adventures of Tom Sawyer, you know,
Mhm.
but no other 1800s work comes close to Frankenstein, Dracula, The Invisible Man in terms of
Yeah.
modern day IP, like
Mhm.
modern day remakes,
Mhm.
reimaginings, reboots, etc. If you point a picture of Frankenstein's monster like to kids are going to know who that is.
Yep.
They can identify him. But if you give them a picture of Heathcliff from Wuthering Heights, they're going to be like, I don't know who that is.
I don't know.
You know, it's because these people, these queer people, had to write about their feelings without using a direct language. The Victorian
Right.
era was not a place where you could be openly gay unless you were, well, some people could. I think Oscar Wilde was pretty well.
There was no
you know
word
what?
for it though.
There was no word
I
for
know.
It was like
It was just
Williamites
like,
and Sodomites, and it was
Yeah.
really connected to the actual act of sex too. Like to call someone a
Yeah.
sodomite indicates that they enjoy sodomy, and not every gay person does, right?
Yeah.
So it's just interesting to me that that's the identification, but you still are expected to get married and court people and not sleep with the son of other lords.
Exactly. But the thing is you know, all these things, the shame, the fear, the desire, the pain, it all had to be expressed through metaphor and allegory. And the beautiful thing about metaphors and allegory is that it's in the eye of the beholder. So you
Mhm.
can have so many interpretations and reimaginings of the same story. You can read Frankenstein and take away no queer themes at all. You can read Dracula and ignore the homoeroticism,
Right.
sure. But
I guess.
somehow
ultimately,
well, but I mean yeah, but people do all the time, and there's that famous line
Yeah.
in Dracula where he's like, this man belongs to me,
Mhm.
which is pretty I don't know how, I mean, I guess if you're looking at him as purely a food source, but the moment before Dracula says that, Harker's lying
Mm.
on the divan with a woman
Yeah.
about to stick him, and he's he's like,
that's
do
the
it,
thing.
do it.
Yep.
Dracula is a gay man's fantasy. A mysterious,
sure.
older, wealthy gentleman invites you to his castle in the dead of night for some bite play. Like, that is legitimately like,
That's just somebody's like dating app ad.
Yeah,
Like,
look
that's
at the new
just-
Nosferatu too. The new
Mhm.
Eggers
Oh,
Nosferatu,
yes.
which was so gross, but at the same time I was
Yeah.
like,
beautiful.
look at that. Yeah, like
Loved.
he's like on him
Mm.
doing stuff. This gross
Extremely
corpse, but
sexual.
it was
Yeah.
kind of sexy at the same time. Like, oh man,
It was.
what is wrong with us?
I know. After I watched, I was
Why
like,
do I
why
like
am I
this so much?
disgusted and turned on all at the same time? Like, I've never
the
felt more
same
tortured
time.
after a movie. I was feeling it all.
I mean, it does. It goes back to Stoker and his conflictedness and being stuck in oh my god, Victorian England, Edwardian England in the late 1890s. I love to teach costume theory because I love to look at how women's fashion particularly changed so dramatically between, I don't know, the mid 1900s and then, or the like 1910s into the 20s in America anyway, in the 20s, and then we have the stock market crash and the depression and the Dust Bowl and all those things, and then conservatism comes back, and you look at how the country shifts between conservatism and some sort of liberal version, back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And to think about being a queer person who has to live in a really restrictive climate. Of course you're going to write what you want to write, and you're going to want to
Mhm.
express yourself in a way that's not going to get you sent to prison for Howard labor, which is what happened to Oscar Wilde. And Bram Stoker was probably
Yeah.
like, "Ooh, okay, gonna
Mhm.
back off that."
Yeah,
He's
he
gonna write to
wrote.
Walt
Right.
Whitman.
Yeah, I'm just gonna write my love letters to this
I'll
poet
just
I've
do my
never
little
met.
letters and watch from afar.
But he wrote Dracula. What, like he started writing Dracula like a month after Oscar Wilde was arrested for homosexuality.
Mm.
And
Gross
so it was
indecency.
on his
Uh-huh.
mind, obviously. That was a
Mhm.
friend of his. And Mary
Mhm.
Shelley as well. If you want to talk about Frankenstein, Mary Shelley she clearly, I think bisexual is probably the best way to describe her. She clearly had feelings for both, but it was about her friends. It was about the people she was friends with. I know she had written letters that have been found and published referencing a friend of hers that was trans.
Mm.
And I actually mentioned on a podcast once about how incredible of an allegory Frankenstein's monster could be for the trans experience. And I thought this cis straight man's head was going to explode at that suggestion. Like he was like, "What are
Really?
you talking about?" And I was like, giving a man a
Oh,
different body,
sweetie.
bringing life back
Uh-huh.
into a man after
Mhm.
giving him new body parts, and then that man immediately being misunderstood and villainized and deemed monstrous. Like,
Yep.
you don't
It,
think that could be an allegory for
it's a
the
huge
trans
connection.
experience,
Oh,
especially
absolutely.
today?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. It's weird that somebody wouldn't be able to see it that way. Like you just explained it so perfectly, which makes me sad, but it's nice that now there is a big community of people who can recognize that now. And Mary Shelley in general, I feel like was just so good at like describing somebody who felt like alienated from society and like
Mhm.
misunderstood, like you just said. Like it was just such a perfect way to bring that in. Again, might have felt subtle to some, but like
Well, then you
we
get
all see Mary Shelley.
we see you, Mary. We see you, girl. Well, then you get James Whale, who is actually
Yes.
an out gay director in
Mm-hmm.
1920s, 30s Hollywood, who's making Frankenstein, and then he makes The Bride of Frankenstein. Which, if you've never seen that, go
Even
treat
gayer.
yourselves, guys.
Even
go treat
gayer.
yourselves. Yeah. Oh my
I
God.
It's
love
fabulous.
Bride of Frankenstein.
Dr.
What a great
Pretorius.
movie.
It's so
Those
good.
little people in the jars, like what's
Yes.
happening?
Weird.
What's
It's-
going on?
I feel like it feels so like flamboyant, which I loved. Like I
Dr.
don't even like to
Pretorius.
use that
Camp,
word,
it
but
was
yeah,
like
it
the
just
first
felt so
Yep.
like,
camp.
oh, we're here, we're getting campier. Like I love it so much.
Yeah, that's the thing, is like when the creature not having a name is a reflection of
Yeah.
like queer existence in a heteronormative society, like not
Mhm.
having like a them. They're a them, they're an
Mhm.
it,
Yeah.
they're not us.
Yeah.
Belongs to the world of the dead, or is in this weird in between, in this sort of liminal in between place, right? Of not quite alive but not quite dead. And I mean, what does he say?
Mhm.
Hate living, love dead, hate living. Like,
Yeah.
oh, that's beautiful and horrifying.
It's
Which is,
so
which is the
sad.
name of the game.
So sad. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
But yeah, when you look at things like Frankenstein, it's like the author of the story was queer, the director of the famous movie was
Mhm.
queer, which we're about to get to. So if you're not seeing the queerness, that's on you.
Mhm.
That's not
Yes.
on the author.
Yes, 1000%.
That's not on the director.
Uh-huh.
And I did
That's
want to
on you.
also, the reason I added H.G. Wells, H.G.
Mm.
Wells at the time, especially, as we're venturing into our next era, he was not queer. He was a cis man. He slept with cis women, but he was extremely sexually free, which I think is
Mm.
another element of, you always have to kind of tie in like sexual liberation in general with
Yeah.
like the queer story, because as
Mhm.
women and men got to be more sexually open, and he was a huge proponent. He was an advocate for sexual revolution and free love, and he said out loud many times, sexual equality and freedom is one of the most important and integral steps to creating a more advanced utopian society.
Mm.
And I can't say I disagree with him. Like, everyone has
Yeah.
to be able to, there can't be restrictions on human behavior aside from like murder, like the
Right.
the
of
stuff that
course.
the 10 Commandments tells us we can't do.
Right.
But yeah, the party that's, look at where we're at today. The party that is
Mhm.
holding us back from literally transforming our world
Mhm.
into a better place
Mhm.
is doing so by oppressing women,
Yep.
stripping anyone who isn't a cis man of their human rights, attempting to villainize gender and sexuality.
Yep.
We're
It's
right
so
back
true.
to
They're
where we were in
recreating,
the
yeah.
1800s.
Yeah.
Us versus them. I think it's a really fascinating time to be alive, though, as miserable
Yeah.
and dark and apocalyptic as it can feel. I came out in 1993 when I was 14. Which seems like a billion years ago now. And I was telling my students the other day, I went to Hellgate, which is the school where I teach in Missoula, and we're a big school in a fairly big town for Montana. But I was the only out gay freshman in the high school. There was one out gay boy per class. There were no out trans people, hardly any out gay women. And now, to go 30 years forward, I mean, so much has happened and so much has changed. And so it's really fascinating to me to look at and go, oh, okay, so even watching Tara and Willow on Buffy the Vampire Slayer 20 years ago feels so old fashioned to be like, oh, we have to cut away from them so they don't kiss. Like, we can't watch them kiss on the WB. The UPN was like, hey, we'll let you kiss and do other things. Come here.
And now we have Riverdale, where it's like everyone can fuck.
Everyone can do anything.
Everyone can lick each other's feet.
Yes, and it's very like, to be gay, to be cisgendered gay man feels much more normalized than it did 30 years ago. And now we have a new group of people to villainize and demonize and to make monstrous in the name of horrible political ideology, which is really, like I said, fascinating in the sense that, like, oh wow, history is happening right in front of us. History is occurring, but at the same time, like, can we move beyond this and just get to the part where everyone's cool? Like,
where everyone's chilled.
You just
again.
be cool.
I know.
Every letter of the queer LGBTQA plus people, they are not going to disappear just because you don't like them.
Right.
So until you can learn to accept every person for who they are and who they love, we're going to be tied up in that bullshit nonsense instead of, like, saving the planet or like
we can't even
making
focus
life better
on,
for people. It's
can't
like,
even
no,
move
we
the
have to
world
focus on this
forward.
horrible, this stupid shit that know is not going to actually go anywhere. Even if you
it's not gonna
even
stick.
if you do what they want to do, which is legitimately lock up every trans person, which is horrifying. And I know, like, people like us will do whatever we have to do to make sure that doesn't happen. But even if you were to do that, all you're doing is pausing time to do a horrible thing that eventually we're going to have to work to undo.
And we will.
So it's like, can we just get, like you said, let's skip to the good part. Let's fast forward.
So I was reading a Clive Barker book, and Clive Barker, of course, is one of the kings of queer horror. And I didn't really know him when I was a kid. I knew
Hellraiser. Nightbreed.
Nightbreed. I didn't even really know Hellraiser. I knew Nightbreed, the really cut up truncated version, and it wasn't until I was much older that I was even reading Clive Barker. And I read this book called Sacrament about 10 years ago. And I read it again this summer, and I just finished it. And this is a quote from it. And it's about an out gay photographer who's obsessed with animals that are going extinct. And there's magical, supernatural reasons. But he says, "We're not going anywhere," Will said with unshakable conviction, "because we don't come from anywhere. We're spontaneous events. We just appear in the middle of families, and we'll keep appearing. Even if the plague killed every homosexual on the planet, it wouldn't be extinction because there's queer babies being born every minute. It's like magic." He grinned at the notion. That's exactly what it is. It's magic. And I saw that quote and I just went,
Yeah, I was like, that just gave me all the good feels. It is magic.
We've always been here, and we're always going to be here, baby. And you're just making it hard for innocent people. So fuck you.
Which is why it's important, I think, to study history. To actually look at ancient Egyptian culture and realize that, oh, guess what? There were a lot of gay people in ancient Egypt. And they were celebrated. You know what I mean? Like, you look at ancient cultures and who celebrated, there was a ton of like ancient Native American cultures that that would have that loved people who were neither male or female.
Yep, a lot of a lot of tribes had two-spirit
Yeah.
people who were like celebrated in sort of a shamanistic, is that a word? Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
Shamanistic.
yeah.
Like a shamanistic kind of a way, absolutely. And we colonizers, predominantly white, heterosexually on the surface aligned, cisgendered on the surface aligned people came in and sort of destroyed these systems and religious beliefs and cultural beliefs. But that wasn't even that long ago. I mean,
I know. That's what's crazy.
And destroying millions of years of an existence
of a belief, culture. Yeah, it's crazy.
There's a really great book called there's a really great book called When God Was a Woman. And it just sort of talks about how the entire world changed when God became a man, and how it became a more oppressive place for everyone who was not a man. Yeah. Not just women, but everyone who didn't. Weird.
Interesting. That's so
interesting.
Bizarre.
Bizarre. I can't believe it.
Who thought of that?
I wonder who did. You know what's so interesting too is when it started to happen. So when it started to happen was when, because before we understood that the semen of the man is what impregnated the woman, we really kind of thought that women were just these like magical creatures that could make children, that could just make these children. So they were revered and they were you know, it was amazing. But once we found out that there was a male component, that's when it all went to shit.
Straight from the goddamn penis.
Going along with what we've been talking about, I saw a quote on it was Instagram or TikTok, so I'm not like quoting like an article. I'm not being an intellectual right now. I just loved this Gen Z person saying, "I'm so tired. I know we're about to have a revolution and I'm here for it, but like, I'm so tired. Why do we have to have a revolution right now? Can we just live in peace?" And like, there were so many likes and comments under it. Like, right? Yeah. Cause it's like, again, I think queer people are always going to be here. As we're saying, there's absolutely going to be some type of revolution. Like, we are going to bring things back to the way they are supposed to be, but it's like, but I'm tired. Why do we have to do this? Why can't you guys?
A lot of it, we
did it.
We already did this.
Did it.
And you undid it, and now like, oh, we have to put other things aside.
Start all over.
Too tired for this.
It's just funny that we have these artifacts. That's what's so interesting about the 20th century is we have artifacts now that you can look at, that you can go, oh, actually, I do know how people looked in 1935. I do know how people sounded because we have these artifacts. But what's missing a lot of times is people that are willing to do the work to look at what was happening culturally, historically, to say, oh, that's why it looked this way. That's why we could talk about a vampire, but we couldn't talk about a gay man. The gay man had to be vampiric for people to be accepting of that. And here are the reasons why: Hays Code, 60s revolution, explosion, 70s depression. I'm reading this great book about horror movies in the 20th century that goes up until 2005. And somebody described the 70s as a long hangover. Like, I went, because the 70s is where stuff breaks down from. And I was born in 1979, so it wasn't like I was, there for it. But
but you can look back and see it.
Yes, all the 20th century pop culture, because I'm such a huge fan of 20th century pop culture, the 60s, particularly the 70s. Jaws accepted. I don't like the fashion. I don't like the style. I don't like a lot of the movies. They're even the horror movies are pretty apocalyptic, and I feel like apocalypse isn't actually my thing. I'm more of the past and the kind of the gothic stuff, which is, we were talking about before, the allegory. A lot of gay people were into the gothic, of the past and the darkness and the shadows versus everything's burning down.
Burning, bleak, sad.
Could be that it's just too much like right now, and maybe I like the escapism, right? The escapism.
Get too real.
For sure.
Well, let's move on to our next era. This is the era of film and the introduction of classic monsters to the masses. This is hiding the monster within. This is an era where we get to see all these beautiful queer novels from the 1800s handed off to beautiful queer directors to make some of the most famous films ever made. We're still watching them. We're still watching them. And you mentioned earlier, Laramie, James Whale. James Whale, my God. First of all, hubba hubba. That's a
Hubba
good-looking
hubba.
man. I'm sorry. Every time I see a picture of James Whale, I'm like, hello. Hello, talented Mr. Ripley. He's so hot.
Beautiful gay man.
But I know you're both a fan of his films.
Oh, yeah.
Frankenstein, Old Dark House,
Dark
Invisible Man,
House.
which I
Oh,
got to
yes.
dive into the Invisible
gonna
Man
say,
for the
you
first
talked about
time
that.
last year, and I'm now obsessed with the Invisible Man. But he was openly gay. He was
Right.
openly gay
That's what's wild.
when it was virtually unheard of, especially as a working professional, and at a time where the PCA was formed, the Production Code Administration. So things started to get censored like crazy. I know at one point after Frankenstein was released, they took out all the mentions of God. So anytime Dr. Frankenstein was ranting and raving about like God, and
Now I know what it feels like to be God. Yeah.
those lines were just taken out of the film, which is just nuts. And the scene
So
where
sad.
Frankenstein's monster drowns the little girl was taken out, and it's like, so what did you guys see? Like,
Right.
what movie
What-
did
what
you?
was
He
going
sent her
on?
off to boarding school.
watch?
He just shoved her down.
She's fine. Maria's fine, you guys. Don't worry about Maria. Maria's-
It's all good.
Which is probably why, after those films, James Whale didn't do a lot of stuff.
Right.
Because what could he make? Like,
It's
those
like
were the
anything
things.
I make that is art and beautiful, you take away. So I get it.
And the also cracking down on like the 50s and the Cold War and all of that, like
Yeah.
put it in the closet, put it in the closet. We're gonna have
Yep. Put it away.
Yep, space monsters and threats from outside, because now we're so post World War II, we're all so tightly knit, and the horror is coming from outside. Or is the horror coming from inside the house? Was the killer in the house all along? Which is then the 60s, and Richard Nixon, and the fact that, like, oh God, we can't even trust our own government.
Yep.
We can't trust
Our own
each
safe
other. Yep. There is no safe space.
There isn't. It doesn't exist.
And then you look at Hitchcock, and Psycho is one of my favorite movies. I love Psycho.
Oh.
My beloved mother got it for me for Christmas when I was in 3rd grade.
This
Oh
my
my
mom.
God.
Which also, especially just because it's like mother and son, that also just cracks me up. Like, here you go.
a heartwarming story
Heartwarming
about a
mother-son
son's
tale.
love for his mother.
Happy birthday.
Skip that. Just watch the middle and watch the Norman scenes, and it's
Yeah,
heartwarming.
that is
Yeah,
fun.
but like, of course, it's very problematic, obviously. And Hitchcock. Oh, I love to have these discussions about separating the artist from the art, and can you do that? I mean,
Yeah.
that's a topic for a whole episode all by itself, is Hitchcock
Sure.
and his problematic
Yeah.
treatment of women and queer people, and women particularly, his problematic treatment of Tippi Hedren in The Birds.
Mhm.
But you
Yeah.
look at Psycho today, and obviously it still resonates.
Mhm.
Everyone knows that, even if they've never seen Psycho, they know
Yep.
that,
To even do that motion and make that sound.
yes, even to do the stabby
Mhm.
motion. But the problematic depictions of gender and gender identity, and the
Yep.
incredibly obnoxiously simplistic explanation from the psychiatrist.
Yes.
Here's a transvestite. No.
Well, so I don't think that.
Oh God.
I
Oh,
know.
God.
And it's like it had the chance to like turn the story around and make it this, like, it could
Yeah.
have been, I mean, still like a very creepy, scary, gross queer story, but also like it didn't have to be as problematic as it was. I
Right.
feel like it
Well,
had a chance.
and Tony Perkins is so likable in that movie. That's what's really
Yeah,
interesting
that
about it, is
makes it hard.
how handsome and likable. And Tony Perkins was on his way to
Mhm.
be like a Hollywood leading man, and then I think Psycho happened, and it was like, this is typecasting, buddy. You're
Well, yeah, and Anthony Perkins was diagnosed with HIV in
Mhm.
1990, which, by the way, I didn't know this. He learned about his diagnosis from a National Enquirer tabloid because one of his nurses that was treating him for something, it was probably HIV related, but they didn't know at the time because he didn't know he had HIV. But one of his nurses had leaked his blood results to the National Enquirer. And that is how he found out that he had HIV,
Oh,
which
that
is
is
just
so sad and
That
horrifying.
is heartbreaking.
horrible.
Because he must
Horrible.
just have made Psycho 4 right before he died. Then I'm trying to think of the
He
the
died
timeline,
in
but-
1992.
Yeah, so Psycho 4 came
My
out in like
God.
1990. I think I remember watching it. It has Olivia Hussey, and I remember watching it on Showtime or HBO or whatever station it was.
Yeah.
Station, whatever channel it was on in the 90s.
Stage.
But yeah. So
That's heartbreaking.
you start getting in the 60s. You start getting like The Haunting of Hill House, the novel, and then the film version, The Haunting, which is one of my favorite. The Haunting of Hill House is my favorite novel in the whole wide world, and then the movie
Theodora,
is amazing. Yeah,
my
Theodora. I model
queen.
myself on Theodora all the time. But there's even that moment in the movie where Eleanor calls her, what does she say? Like, nature's mistakes, they're called. You, for instance. And Theodora goes,
She's like, what do you mean by that?
But Theodora's like, I'm just living my best life, girl.
I'm living my truth. Let's go.
my best bohemian 60s chic black Claire Bloom life.
Yes, exactly.
One of the things I always appreciate about every rendition that I've ever seen of The Haunting of Hill House is that they did ensure that they kept Theodora's lesbianism and bohemianism in all of them. Catherine
Yeah.
Zeta-Jones was such a great casting choice. She did not shy away from that side of her.
In 1999.
In 1999, that was awesome.
Yes.
And then, of course, we have Mike Flanagan's Haunting of Hill House, which we have a reimagining of the character, but we've got Theodora
But still.
Crane, Kate Siegel.
Yep.
Kate Siegel, openly bisexual. It's amazing. And Shirley Jackson was an interesting one because she was not openly gay, but she often wrote characters with really complex sexualities.
Yeah.
And she had a lot of cryptic journal entries alluding to almost her fear of lesbianism. So she often
that's interesting.
disparaged lesbians, which would kind of lead you to believe either she was a bigot, but I don't think bigots write such compelling gay characters. So
Right.
most people, myself included, think she had some very
Something
repressed
feelings.
sexual feelings.
Yeah, and her
Absolutely.
husband was cheating on her. Her husband was terrible, and
Yeah.
she had this. They lived in this very anti-Semitic community in Vermont, where Stanley, her husband, was Jewish, and the kids were Jewish, and she had to put up with a lot of that bullshit. But you look at like Hangs a Man, which I went through this huge Shirley Jackson. I mean, she's my favorite author. This huge renaissance for personally in the 90s, where Stephen King has a book called Dance Macabre, where he recommends all this horror fiction, and that's how I discovered Peter Straub and Shirley Jackson. And I read Hangs a Man and hated it, and then I came back and read it again in 2011 or 12 and loved it. And there's the very complicated character Natalie, who's the protagonist, and her possibly imaginary friend, possibly not, Tony, Tony, and they are sleeping together. They sleep together like big cats, she says in one moment. So whether she's imaginary or not, Natalie's still like
Sleeping in bed with a woman.
spending some quality time, yes, with a female character.
Right.
There again, you don't have the words, you don't have the vocabulary, you don't have the experience, so you're going to use your feelings and your fears to create characters like Theodora, who in the novel, there's just the very barest hint that she is anything but straight. When
Like she has a roommate, she has a female roommate.
I don't even know if it
is, like, kind of
specifies
how
that-
they describe her.
I don't know if it specifies
That she's a girl.
Yeah, I don't know if she does.
Does it?
Just pull the book off the
really?
shelf.
I know. I love it. I love how easily you can grab it.
Oh, are you talking about this novel that I have?
Yeah,
Right,
it's her
right here.
friend, her friend, her friend, her friend, her friend, her friend. It's just her friend. There's no.
We were reading between the lines.
Yeah,
Which
well,
again, like we
I mean, yeah,
said,
and
we're
then- and then
coded.
look.
My
Yep.
aunt has lived with her friend for
Yeah, her
40 years.
roommates.
I had the
Her
same.
roommates.
I had
Her
the
best
same
friend.
situation, Ashley, and it took me many years to be like, but
Oh, wow.
it's the queer coding. But then it's
Yeah,
also
but-
like, Theodora, like we didn't even like she wasn't even embraced as like a positive character by any means. So that goes back to, I wonder if like Shirley was like, listen, I'm gonna put this out there, but like I'm mad, and also like I
don't
feel
know
like
how I
this is
feel about it.
evil.
Yep.
Maybe
Theodora
you know, like you don't know what
Theodora is
to do.
manipulative, and Theodora
Yeah.
is not always nice. And Claire
Mhm.
Bloom really, Claire Bloom and director Robert Weiss really, what's right, exacerbate that, make it bigger and more apparent.
Mhm.
Where Theodora's like obviously into Eleanor in the movie, but she's torturing her. But then at the
Yeah.
same time,
Yeah.
Eleanor is the most unreliable protagonist of
Yeah.
20th century horror literature. So
Not here for it.
like, who knows?
Who knows what Theodora was actually like?
Maybe Theodora was
Theodora
a very
was a
nice
guy
person.
named Ted.
It was just Teddy. It was Teddy all along.
There was no Luke.
Eleanor's crazy.
Eleanor is wild.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think we can definitely, when we talk about like how Shirley Jackson sort of talked about lesbians, Hitchcock's treatment of women, Hitchcock was probably the A in LGBTQA. Like he was very asexual. He
Mhm.
like was married, of course, but like they didn't fuck. Like he was a
You
very
know they
asexual person, and I think that he took a lot of he took a lot of things out on a lot of people. Which
Yeah.
here's the thing, we all do for different reasons. I had Haunting of Hill House on my list as well because I love that story. This
Mhm.
was also an era too where we got a lot of transformation horror. We saw a huge emergence of werewolves, Jekyll and
Mhm.
Hyde's, cat people,
Oh,
which
cat
is
people.
obvious.
Cat people.
Cat people, dude.
Really like
Cat people. A woman literally turns into a killer panther when she gets horny. Like
Mhm.
that.
Murderous pussy.
I know.
Pussy with fangs.
Pussy with the teeth.
That's a vagina dentata. Oh, the scariest thing I could picture.
But when you think
So
of
good.
something inside you that you can't control, you cannot suppress, it is going to come out no matter what. It's a hidden part of you that's being destructive because it is hidden. Society views that side of you as a monster. And you look at these movies, these werewolf movies, and like the shame the characters feel after that transformation, the day after. Yeah, you could totally see why this would be
queer
important to
of course.
queer people.
Yeah.
This might be a good place. Can I talk really quickly about Dark Shadows? I know it's not on your list,
Please
but it's
do,
So
please.
I am a giant Dark Shadows nerd. For those of you that don't know, Dark Shadows was a soap
been.
opera from 1966 to 1971. It was on ABC, and it made a star out of a closeted Canadian Shakespearean actor named Jonathan Frid, who played vampire Barnabas Collins. And it was a huge phenomenon, huge fad. It was kind of a fad show, particularly in the 68, 69, when Quentin Collins' hottie David Selby came on. David Selby actually went to our school, Ashley. Did you know that?
No way! No, I didn't.
Yeah, went to SIU. I found his dissertation in the dissertation room. He called one day and I talked to him on the phone because I'd met him. I've been to a billion Dark Shadows festivals because see above RE, I'm a giant nerd. But yeah, David Selby went to SIU. So I was like, oh my God, I'm talking to David Selby on the phone. And years later, I met him again and was like, hey, I'm a Saluki, and you talked to me, and he thought it was the coolest thing in the world. But Dark Shadows is all about the monsters being the protagonists. And Barnabas, the vampire, is a 200 vampire, and he pretends to be his own descendant. And he calls himself a cousin from England, which a lot of and Dark Shadows has a huge queer following. And a lot of the fans of Dark Shadows really responded to this idea of, I have to pretend to be something I'm not. My family can't find out. Barnabas's secret is so intense that he spends a lot of the series killing people to protect his secret, which if you are, I mean, I went through that phase myself when I was probably 6th grade, 7th grade, where I didn't want anybody to know. And the thought that people could find out was so terrifying and so horrifying. And this is why we have gay panic in real life and people getting murdered in real life, which is way less fun than watching a vampire soap opera. But it's all also Dark Shadows was inspired a lot by these movies from the 40s, these Universal monster movies from the 40s. Like the Wolfman, Dracula, and it's very reminiscent of those movies. And when the monster fad was happening in the late 60s with famous monsters of Filmland, Forrest Ackerman, and Castle of Frankenstein, Barnabas and the Monsters of Dark Shadows were right on the front covers, along with Lon Chaney Jr. and along with Bela Lugosi and all those monsters everybody knows. So it's very tied up in pop culture of the 60s, particularly, as all of this stuff was happening, all this revolutionary stuff, while TV seemed relatively, well, fictional TV seemed relatively safe. Here's the Vietnam War. Here is our race riots. Here is the Stonewall riots. All of this is in the 60s when this huge transformation was happening. And all of it had to be reflected in, read into all of this horror that was happening and being a monster kid, identifying with the monsters, particularly
the monsters,
yes, rather than the people with the pitchforks,
right,
who are going to come and kill you because of what you are. So I think for me particularly, that's the root of my monster queer identity collision is the aligning myself with the monsters.
Totally.
Yeah.
People with the pitchforks are the evil assholes.
God damn it.
I know. Who could watch Frankenstein and then be like, you know what? I relate to the third man with the pitchfork.
Yeah, it was like that guy. That guy with the torch over there, that was...
Well,
I'm with him.
I mean, obviously lots of people do, because that's where we are. That's where we are right now. Like,
we literally have pitchforks in the street.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Give me my weapon, find the monster, shoot the monster down.
It's funny that you said earlier when you were like, oh, I don't get the movies of the 70s, because literally in my notes, I'm like, we're going to move out of the early 1900s. We're going to make a quick stop in the 70s and then we're going to move on, because there's not much. Here's the thing about the 70s that was great. A lot of tits.
Yeah,
women's tits were out. We were fucking officially fucking. Sexual repression was being torn down. We were literally letting our tits out. There's not a horror movie from the 70s that doesn't have a pair of tits in it.
True.
And it's not necessarily an enormous era for queer horror, although we do have major standouts. We have Rocky Horror Picture Show, Interview with the Vampire came out. But it was an enormous era for women's liberation, which helps move the needle for everyone. We had Rosemary's Baby, we had The Brood, Last House on the Left, The Sentinel, Suspiria, Black Christmas. Like, women weren't just showing their boobies for the first time, they were also talking about abortion for the first time in movies.
Oh my God, yeah.
They were...
Black Christmas, yeah.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Shocking to this day, some of the things in Black Christmas.
But it was still revolutionary. It helped.
Yeah. It was also a time where we were finally seeing gay characters in pop culture. Like the Jeffersons had a gay character. MASH had a gay storyline. Soap, Mary Tyler Moore Show. Like, we were actually seeing gay people on screen, even though it wasn't a huge era for queer horror. But I do, before we move into maybe my favorite era, we have to give a shout out to John Waters.
Oh,
John
my husband
Waters.
and I just watched Mommy Dearest last night. It's the second time I've seen it. And I just was like, I mean, that's almost like a horror movie without, well, I was going to say a monster, but it's Faye Dunaway as Joan Crawford, as Faye Dunaway as Joan Crawford, And I just was like, you know what? This would have been so good if John Waters had directed this movie. Can you imagine a world where John Waters directed Mommy Dearest? Like,
incredible.
Oh.
Divine would have been in it. Divine would have been the Faye Dunaway.
Divine would have been Joan Crawford. The
things we missed out on.
John Waters, if you're out there and you're listening, please do your own version of Mommy Dearest. It's not too late.
We're
begging.
You can.
Yeah, I don't know if I could properly express how important that counterculture movement was for me. Just in terms of all the things I think it was directly responsible for bringing into the world. And there's no way for me to explain it in 5 minutes or less. So I just have to recommend the documentary I Am Divine, which not only centers around the life and career of Harris Glenn Milstead and his alter ego drag persona Divine, but also John Waters, his crew, the Dreamlanders, and how they made their films and kind of put their stamp on pop culture forever. And before Divine and Dr. Frankenfurter, we had drag in movies, but it was often played for the joke. Charlie Chaplin would dress up as women. Milton Berle would dress up as women. Of course, we have like Some Like It Hot. But then we have all of a sudden polyester, Pink Flamingos, Rocky Horror. that was my introduction. I didn't know
Yeah.
what drag was,
Yes.
but I knew that Divine was the most beautiful woman in the world.
That's right. Sort of.
And I liked what I saw.
Right.
So, in honor of John Waters, let's enter my favorite era of horror in general, but also definitely a robust era for queer horror. It's time to let it all hang out. This is an era that we are simply calling camp.
Camp, baby. We love it.
My favorite TV show from 1989 to 1993 was the Batman 60s series, because as a young queer kid, oh my god, Eartha Kitt was the first Catwoman I ever saw, and then Julie Newmar, and I was like, I want to be her. I want to be Julie Newmar. I want to be her. Or even like Cesar Romero, who was a queer actor and refused to shave his mustache, so they just
put the paint over it,
slathered that white clown makeup right over the mustache, and it is fucking amazing. It is still my favorite Batman representation. But that's how I knew what camp was. So going into the 90s, I already knew I knew what camp was, because I kind of got it from watching that show, even though I did take it very seriously. I was like, oh no, this even the way that I'm reading some of the lines, of course I would pretend to be Julie Newmar's Catwoman all the time, and I was like, oh yeah, this is camp.
Totally.
I might be gay.
Wait a minute.
I'm pretty positive everyone listening to this right now knows the slang camp, but just in case you don't, camp refers to a deliberately exaggerated, flamboyant, or theatrical style and sensibility. It's often appreciated, John Waters, for its poor taste and ironic value. It's a term of endearment and affection. It is not an insult. I'm sure some people use it as an insult, the saying like, it was too campy for me, but it's excessive, it's over the top, it's ridiculous. And it's the early indicator, I think, that I would grow into an adult who absolutely adored queer culture, because Death Becomes Her, like I said earlier, there's no queer people in that movie really, but
it's a queer sensibility.
Everything about it, from the costumes, the way they delivered their lines, the hair,
bitchy.
the makeup.
It's so bitchy.
It is bitchy. That's such a good way to put it.
It's why Gay Men Love All About Eve. It's the bitchiest.
Yes.
It's just bitchy, and in a way, it's really deeply misogynistic. And I try not to let that spoil my appreciation, but because I'm like, oh, these are these exaggerated stereotypes of women who are obsessed with age and beauty, written by gay dudes.
Written by gay men.
But it's also so quotable. Like Peaches Christ and Jinx Monsoon have done the like drag becomes her, right? So it lends itself to these exaggerated, campy drag characters. Like Madeline Ashton and Helen Sharp are begging to become characters acted out by men in drag. Like they're begging for it.
Yeah, and camp didn't just give us color and extravagance, it gave us over the top excess gore. We had Evil Dead, Fright Night, Videodrome, Hellraiser, like any movie that uses buckets and buckets of blood in one take. Gave us very sassy characters to go along with it. Chucky, Buffy, Freddy, they're Chucky. All very sassy.
Evil Ed from Fright Night, yes, which was that's another one of those seminal, pardon the expression, seminal coming of age horror movies for me, because I was both, let's see, I probably saw Fright Night when I was 7 or 8, rented it, or mom brought it home from the video store in Circle, and I was obsessed, terrified. Mom bought me a little cross at the fair that I immediately broke by accident. I felt really, really guilty. I put garlic in my window and attracted wasps to like save myself from these it turned out wasps really like dried granulated garlic. It's a pro tip.
Okay,
Who knew?
well,
I knew. Evil Ed then becomes like a campy, flamboyant exaggeration of himself. Like he's literally in the Raggedy Ann wig, and he's getting more and more grotesque looking as the very practical special effect makeup, which is in itself super campy and horrifying and queer and beautiful, and does not look like a horrible CGI experience. Like
oh god, I can't even.
Everything from the 90s and 2000s. I know.
Which is so unfortunate.
Yeah, so I mean, Fright Night is a beautiful example of like excess, and at the same time, it was really scary. Like, wasn't Fright Night scary? It
Genuinely
was
scary.
scary.
Yes.
Yeah, are
Like
you kidding me? I still like when I see anything with a big exaggerated mouth.
Oh, the vagina dentata again. It's the
Vagina
It's the
dentata.
vagina dentata, the devouring mouth of the woman. Yes, God forbid.
Something that can creep me out. So anything where it's like stretched in any direction, I'm like, no, that is one of the most terrifying images I could ever see. I cannot.
And it's also why I can't, like, I'm such a child of the 80s, American Werewolf in London and The Howling and Fright Night and The Lost Boys, like this beautiful, amazing, fantastic practical effect, special effects and makeup. It's why I just can't. As soon as I saw American Werewolf in Paris when I was in college, I was like, fuck you, movie.
Oh boy.
Fuck you.
Oh boy.
I'm sure it has some fans, or even like The Haunting from 1999, which exhausts me to talk about. Like, again,
Lord.
fuck you.
You
Give
know
me
what's so
special
funny about
practical
that
effects.
movie? One, they ruined the whole story in the 1996 The Haunting, because like it ends and it's like there really are ghosts here and we set them free, and it's like, oh,
Ugh,
okay, well,
ugh,
I mean,
that
that's
was
sort of
the dumbest.
Angels, and there's angels, I guess.
some liberties taken with this tale. But
Yeah.
also, like,
I hated
there's
it
some
so much.
scary, scary stuff in that movie. The
Oh,
little
true.
cherub heads that would move.
No.
The pounding on the door, that was cool. Even the like skeleton
Yeah.
that pops out of the, or the
Ugh.
idea that Hugh Crane was like killing kids, and I love that. I was like, let's dive deeper into
Totally.
that. But they were
Yeah.
like, no, we really need to use all the computer animation we can to show you that yes, this is really happening, and Eleanor's bed is really
Yeah, rough stuff.
warping itself,
Consuming her.
You
Yeah.
know? Like
Attacking her like a
metaphor,
monster.
right?
Yeah.
But like, I mean, go back to what you were saying, Ashley, about allegory, and sometimes that's way scarier. Like, is
Yeah,
this
there's
happening or
no
not?
metaphors and allegory in the 1996 The
No.
Haunting.
No, they were just like, here it all is, and it
Nope.
looks terrible.
Yeah,
And also, it looks bad.
It looks real bad.
which is offends my queer sensibilities. Just
Of course, and it
Well,
should.
Yes, it should. I love coming out of the 80s. I mean, you mentioned Hellraiser, and like, first of all, that was something that I saw like
Too young.
too young at first, and then I'm pretty sure like I saw it at a sleepover only, as I always tell
Oof.
Ashley, that was when I had to squeeze it in
Oofta.
because my mom wouldn't let me. But then I like came home and was like crying and felt it was the first movie that made me feel sick to my stomach because of the buckets and buckets of blood. But I love what I love about it, and why it can be on the queer list is all the leather and sadomasochism.
Yeah, you wanna scare the straight people? Yeah, show
Yes.
them leather dom sub stuff.
That's
Oh,
what
yeah.
I'm saying. So I'm like, it's totally in there.
Look at that, Middle America.
Peel your skin off.
I know.
I have never seen Hellraiser.
That's
Get
okay.
out.
To be
Just
honest
kidding. You're
with you.
totally fine.
To be honest with you, that's okay. It's one of those movies. So
It's not everyone's cup of tea.
I tried.
my husband has seen maybe before we started dating 10 years ago, he had seen maybe like 10 horror movies. Like he didn't know. Now he's seen them all multiple times. And Hellraiser is definitely one that he like will not even rewatch. It
Yeah.
is too
It's a lot.
much for him in terms of like the imagery, but it's also one of those movies where it's like, was this director foreign by any chance? You know, there's movies where it's like, oh, the director didn't speak English, did he?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
No,
There's no
Yeah.
way.
there are so many of those.
Oh, like when you watch Suspiria, which I mean, I came to Suspiria
Yeah.
very late in my horror life,
mean,
but
same.
I mean, there's another
Same. Ashley showed it to me.
beautiful, high camp, bizarre,
Mhm.
fucking bizarre. The murder
So
scene at the
bizarre.
beginning, which is also really scary, but it's also
Yeah.
like really silly and goofy, and it's
Mhm.
that really lovely. I think that's where queer people respond to camp, because it's the ludicrous and the silly mixed in with the mundane and the horrifying, it all mushed up together at the same time, because that's what our fucking lives are. It's like, if I can't laugh at shit,
If you can't laugh at the horrors,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
I'll descend into an H.P. Lovecraft-esque central
Yes.
character
Hell.
madness, and that's ain't nobody got time for that. I enjoy
You have
life,
to have
and
some fun with it, or we will all just
Yes.
sink into the ground. Yeah, it's like it's all we
Yes.
have.
For
You don't
fuck's
laugh, you
sake.
cry.
Well, speaking of having fun with it, and one piece of IP I do think we have to credit, especially today, Chucky.
Oh,
Hello,
love
Chucky.
Chucky. Uh-huh.
Never seen a Child's Play movie either.
You don't need to see a Child's Play
okay.
movie. I do suggest that you watch the Chucky television show, though. So,
Mm-hmm.
Child's Play, a lot of people would lose the context. Chucky, the television show, basically Bride of Chucky on, but especially the television show, is not just subvertly gay, it's overtly gay.
Yeah,
Gay
I've read that.
characters, trans
Yeah.
characters,
Trans
queer
characters.
Brought
Don't
it
they
all
have a
in, yeah.
don't they have a child who is trans or trans queer or
Non-binary.
genderqueer, non-binary?
Non-binary, yeah.
Yeah.
They brought it all in.
There's a line in the movie where he's like, "You have a queer kid," and Chucky himself is like, "I'm not a fucking monster." Yeah, I'm not a monster.
Fuck yeah. Okay.
I'm just a murderer.
I'll watch some Chucky stuff.
Chucky's incredible, and you'd lose a lot of the context if you were to say watch the first 3 Child's Play movies and then hop into the
The show.
Chucky series. You would be like, how did this happen?
Mm-hmm.
But it's because the creator of the character and the story Child's Play, and now finally the director of the show, Don Mancini, is openly gay. And he has on multiple occasions directly referenced 1933's Invisible Man to the inspiration for the personality of Chucky, because he's maniacally the maniacally laughing, almost like witch
Yeah,
voice.
that's true.
And the first 3 movies are directed by straight men. And Don Mancini, I don't believe, was openly gay at the time. But when it was time, they wanted another Chucky movie. But Don Mancini was like, we have to revamp it. It can't just be this little doll killing people. And that's where Bride of Chucky comes in,
Yes, I
which
love.
is the epitome of camp.
Yeah.
Some people, a lot of people, it's the only Chucky movie they've ever seen.
Mm-hmm. I had a lot of friends tell me that.
That could be me.
Yes. I've been Bride of Chucky for Halloween twice now, and every time I would meet people out who are like, I know exactly who you are, but I can't lie, like it's the only Chucky movie I've seen. And I would every time be like, and that's fine, because like the camp in that and just like the over-the-top fun of it is.
Isn't Jennifer Tilly
chef's-
like a camp goddess?
Gay icon.
Yes.
Jennifer Tilly.
Yeah, and camp goddess. That is a great way to put it. She like so good. So good.
Bride of Chucky was a box office flop. It had horrific reviews, but it is an instant cult classic. You can
Totally.
attribute that to the campiness of the film. And it's almost everyone's favorite Chucky movie. Not mine,
Mhm. That's okay.
but only because I'm a purist. I like the first one. I like the original. But I love it, obviously. Yeah, and then you get to the series, which has fully embraced. Don Mancini is now the director, so he can actually make it what he wants it to be, and it's one of the queerest shows on television today.
I kind of love this idea that there's actually like, because I'm listening to this, I'm like, I don't know if I'm really ever going to watch it because it still doesn't super appeal to me. But I love that there's options now. Like, I don't have to latch on to the one queer horror thing because there's only one. Like, there's enough stuff that I could be like, I'll pass on that. Right?
Totally.
Like,
that you're able to say like, no thanks.
what a nice place to be in.
We have to give a warm and loving shout out to the movies and television series. We've got Wednesday, extremely gay. The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, very gay. There's gay characters. American Horror Story.
Oh, I mean the
gayest. The
yeah,
gayest.
that's
Yes.
just Ryan Murphy. Yeah, we all know. Yeah.
Chucky, Scream Queens, Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. I saw the TV glow.
I saw the TV glow.
I was like, I hope we end up talking about that because I just saw that recently. I watched it twice and I had to like put some space in between because I felt a lot of feelings. But I like after the first time, I just like, it was one of those movies where I sat in the silence and like watched the credits for such a long time. Because I mean, I will admit this. I was first of all like, am I fully understanding the ending? Like, is it what I'm interpreting? And so that's why I went back and watched it again to do like a deeper dive, and then, you know, went on Reddit threads about it and like, got in discussions with people because I was like, this is what I think it's about. And people like actually had differing views, which is what makes it cool because we were interpreting it in different ways, but there was the overarching like, who am I really and who do I see myself as, and like screaming out for help. Yeah, and just
I need to
it was
watch
so
that again.
good and dark.
Yeah, we have a lovely independent movie theater in town called the Roxy, which has been an institution in Missoula for about 100 years. And my friend who loves to take me to horror movies that I might not otherwise see was like, we have to watch. And I saw the TV Glow. And my husband is not a huge, well, he's not a fan of horror at all. Like he won't. He doesn't. He can't. He can't.
Sweet man.
So funny.
We'd heard that I saw the TV Glow as a horror movie, so Ryan didn't want to come. And I was like, oh, you would have actually loved this movie. Like you would have enjoyed this movie a lot, I think. It's deep and interesting and hard. It is a hard movie. And that's really what I want anymore. Is I want to watch something and think about it, and interpret it and analyze it and go, oh. Also, like a man of, or a person of color as the protagonist. Like, it's so good on so many levels.
That like there's that guttural scream scene. I don't want to like say any more spoilers other than that, but I just like started bawling just because of the way he like screams
so moving.
when he's like.
If you were a kid from the 90s and like Buffy the Vampire Slayer was my TV show all the way through college, and so to watch that and go, oh, that's what it was like. You're capturing this idea of what it was like to be a Buffy fan, and you know Buffy is. Thank you, Joss Whedon, for making it as problematic for me to rewatch it as it is now. But also, like, I watched that on a loop for probably 10 years. So I probably overdid it myself. But I saw the TV Glow made me remember what it was like to be a Buffy fan in the moment. Yeah, what it was like to not have all of Buffy as a text that was now complete. I mean, we'll see what we'll see what the little remake is going to be like.
The remake.
I know.
I think that's another really lovely thing to look back on now that we do have decades and decades and decades of queer horror and entertainment in general. It is lovely to look back and just see when we got it wrong. When we got it right, because we kind of were all learning together. Totally. And I don't fault a lot of people in the past that didn't get it right, that their intentions may have been good. I mean, do we even want to talk about Nightmare on Elm Street 2?
Freddy's Revenge. I know.
Oh, I know. And that was a nightmare movie I had not seen until the last 10 years or so. Oh, I know. And if I had seen it when I was a kid, like a little kid, because I saw Nightmare, my wonderful mother, we watched Nightmare on Elm Street together when I was 7 or 8. And I just remember the goats. I remember the goats.
She never wanted you to sleep again.
Seriously.
Let's now watch The Shining. But like, if I had seen Nightmare on Elm Street 2 when I was a kid, I mean, Mark Patton was hot, and there was all this queer stuff that would have probably, I don't know if my queer development needed hastening, but might have hastened it along. And I know it's so problematic. I know that a lot of it is. But I love what you're saying, Ashley, about like, it's a step, right? Like it is a step. And if you haven't seen,
it's a clear step.
Yeah, listeners, if you haven't seen Scream Queen, My Nightmare on Elm Street, right? Is that what it's called? It's Mark Patton's.
Yes, the documentary. So good.
So good. So good. And I follow him on Instagram. He's a pretty fascinating human being all by himself. So I highly recommend giving him a follow on Instagram if you want to. I know I wish I had seen that movie when I was younger though.
I know.
I'd be so curious like what you would have like thought of it in that moment too. Like
what's so funny, because I saw it when I was younger and I didn't pick up on any of the
obvious
gayness,
queer,
which is hilarious
all
because
the
now it's like
and the leather daddy, and
now it couldn't be more in your face.
Teacher, I know.
Jesse screaming the whole time.
And Freddy like coming out of his literal chest. Crazy. And when you watch, there's a great documentary called Never Sleep Again, which it covers every single Nightmare installment. And the directors of Nightmare 2 were like, we didn't know. And I'm like, first of all, how could, okay.
Oh, but you did though.
Were
Blanche.
You drunk?
Do not believe. I know.
But you did, Blanche. But you did.
Blanche, you do. There's no way you didn't. Okay. There's no
No,
way.
I do not believe it for a second. I think we texted about it because we had both watched it, Ashley, and we were both like, "Do you see them trying to say they didn't know? Do you see them?"
There's no way.
Well, I think Mark
It's just
Patton actually says, yeah, they knew. And like later on, they
They
were like,
had to.
yeah,
Yes,
we knew.
and he looks
We
back
knew.
and it's like, "Yeah, I was a gay scream queen, and we all know it." Like
Yeah,
that is.
he came off.
that's what
He
it
was in Come Back to the Five and Dime Jimmy Dean, and he played
Mhm.
a preoperative transgendered character. So he already had been aligned with some kind of queer
Totally.
coloring, if you expression.
Definitely.
And he was sort of, I mean, to go from Langenkamp as the lead, and then all of a sudden put I mean, as far as I know, as far as I can think, that was the first like male scream
Male scream
queen that we
queen.
Yeah, that's
had.
I think
Like,
so.
Yeah.
And I'm just sitting here thinking it's actually very much like Cat People, where whenever Irena is aroused, she turns into a murderous panther and kills people. Whenever Jesse is aroused by his gym teacher, by Grady,
Mhm.
Freddy comes ripping out of him and
Freddy
kills
comes
people.
That's exactly right.
Like, yeah, it's Cat People in Freddy drag.
Mhm. It's very true. Yes, it is so true. But I love that we got our first like male scream queen, like but also
It's an
the
important
a
movie.
gay scream
Yeah.
And he
queen.
was
Yes.
cute. Like I wish
so
and running
cute.
around in his underpants the whole
I
time.
know.
And he had a very interesting relationship with his best guy friend.
Oh
who
yeah,
was
What's
never
you
had
know,
a shirt on.
Nope,
Never
never,
had a shirt
ever.
on.
compared to Teen Wolf, which I was obsessed with Teen Wolf because I loved werewolves.
Totally.
But then watching Teen Wolf as an adult, I went, "Oh my god!" When he tries to come out to his best friend, and Styles is like, "Well, you're not a fag, are you?" And he's like, "No, no, I'm not a
No,
fag.
no,
God
I'm
forbid." Or
no,
in
wolf.
I'm just a werewolf. I just eat
It's
people.
just
Or like
Wolfie. It's okay.
once Bitten, where they're trying to look at Jim Carrey's in the shower to find bite marks on his inner thigh, and everyone's like, "Fags in the shower," and they panic and run. That's when I want to be like, fuck the 80s sometimes. Like, fuck these 80s movies where homophobia is just like rampant.
Yeah.
Rampant. I mean, it makes total sense coming off of the pendulum swinging from the 60s into the
Sure.
70s. Into the 80s, and I do remember the 80s, and it was a time that we had.
It was a time that we had that we lived
experienced.
through.
We wouldn't have the 90s and today without it, though. So I suppose
No, we
It got
needed
us
it
where
to
we
get to where
are.
we are today.
Yeah.
Well, guys, this was incredible. I could legitimately talk about all my
know.
favorite queer horror movies and
Me
and
too.
This goes
books
on and on. I know. I'm like, I feel like there were so
All
many
day.
that we still didn't cover, but it's like we need 5 hours set aside. We need a little 5-hour table discussion.
Are there any specials that we wanted to cover before we wrapped it up? Are there any that were like,
I
oh,
have
we have to
become
talk
a
about
huge
this?
fan of Let's Scare Jessica to Death, which is a
Mm.
beautiful movie, which is
Yes.
highly homophobic. The
Yeah.
lesbian, it's Carmilla in a really homophobic. I mean, Carmilla's homophobic too, but this is like, oh no, queer panic. Oh no, this invading
Mhm.
woman comes and she wants my man, but she also wants me, and she wants to
But she
drag
wants
me into the
me.
water in her wedding dress. Oh God, yeah. I'm crazy. Yes. But I love that movie as a creepy. A creepy and I don't even know if I would describe it as camp. I don't know. It's more unsettling to me.
It's borderline.
It's
Yeah,
almost
well, like
borderline
everything,
camp, I would say.
horrifying in the 70s too is,
Mhm.
is yeah. I would recommend that if people have not seen Let's Scare Jessica to Death. I mean, the title itself is ridiculously goofy, but
The only one that I had on my list that and you touched on it actually, Laramie, which I was really excited about, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, because
Yes.
it's one of my all-time favorite movies, both the 50s adaptation and the
70s.
70s adaptation, especially watching them back to back, because a lot of people don't realize what they did with the 70s version is they literally like pick it up where the 50s version left off, so you can
Mhm.
watch it as like a sequel to
Mhm.
the original. It's really great. But I never really there's a documentary I have to recommend to everyone. It's called Queer for Fear. It's
Mhm.
on Shudder. It's I think
Beautiful.
4 or 5 parts,
Yep, it's fantastic.
and it's so good, and they'll walk you through. And I never looked at Invasion of the Body Snatchers as something that could be interpreted as queer, because
I didn't either.
I did.
it's always been cemented because of its McCarthyism, it's the Red
Mhm.
Scare, blah blah blah
Right.
blah blah. But yeah, I mean, when you think about it, the conformity and especially the idea of like you can walk among them as long as you blend in.
I never could do that.
Clearly the gay community, could look at that and find a connection in masking
course.
their
Yep.
gayness or
Yep.
like toning
Yep.
down.
That's why it's so scary.
Oh my gosh, it's so scary.
Yes.
Yep, and I've never been able to pass. And so that moment where poor Veronica Cartwright, who is the scream queen to end all scream queens, approaches Donald Sutherland, and he's one of them, and he just goes, "Run, Veronica, run!
Get out of there!
Get away from the aliens! Get away from the birds! Just go somewhere and be safe."
Be safe, you sweet angel. Yeah, avoiding consequences of people finding out that you are gay, like conversion therapy, which is a form of body snatching.
It sure
And
is.
I never thought of that until just today.
I
Conversion camp.
cannot wait to rewatch those movies with that in the back of my head.
Because I was the same. I didn't I had to be walked through that and was like, oh my God, how did I not see this?
God, obviously.
I know. Oh, that is a good one.
Lauren, did you have any?
I know. I feel like we've talked about all of these on the show enough, so it's not even like that much worth mentioning. But obviously, in the more modern day, like Jennifer's Body, like just game, but like such a game changer. Eventually, a cult classics. At first, people were like, "I don't understand," and now it's like this is a gay iconic movie that we all love. But also, The Craft has always felt like such a gay movie to me as well. So I loved that, and then the campiness of Scream in the '90s. Those kind of like both go hand in hand for campy and feel gay without like being obviously gay necessarily, but like having hints.
Yeah.
Well, no, Billy and Stu are pretty on the nose, though.
Are we sure they weren't together?
Well, yeah, and I was like, that's where Kevin Williamson was like, here you go, just gonna sprinkle.
Here you go, guys.
I'll sprinkle a little bit of this in.
Before we started recording, Ashley and I were talking about what was I talking about? Okay, I made a Craft reference because we are the Weirdos.
We are the Weirdos, Mister. You were talking about going to Billings,
Montana.
Montana.
Oh yes, my husband and I went to
the huge city.
Yep, we went to our biggest
city.
city of Billings, and there was we were staying at a hotel downtown, and Pride was happening literally a block away, and the little valet was just like, "Oh, I know, it's so weird," and I want to be like, "We are the." Actually, I probably said something to him because
We are the Weirdos.
Like, we are the Weirdos, Mister.
Yes. Oh, I'm so obsessed with that.
It's hard to separate, I think, movies that were really powerful to young girls with movies that were really powerful to gay men.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Because we all sort of found ourselves in those movies in different ways.
Right.
Felt depressed, wanted power.
Exactly. Yeah, that's why women's liberation and the queer community's liberation go hand in hand.
Totally
We've always been marching with you as you march with us. Like gay people are on the front lines of every, abortion cause and, women's rights cause, and women are marching with you.
We tend to love powerful, amazing women. Like,
we're in this together.
We're marching together, and that's why I think, that's why we all grew up loving the theater and the horror, and we are the like little weirdos loving the queer things. That's us.
Now, if
Why
only we could be the only ones left on Earth. That's all the time we have this week, though, for Keep It Weird. Thank you all so much for joining us. Happy spooky season 2025. This one of the scariest years ever.
And buy my book.
And also buy Laramie's book. Thank you so much, Laramie, for joining us finally.
Oh, finally.
I couldn't have built a better guest out of spare body parts for this very special
Surprisingly, I am made of spare body parts. And a werewolf and a vampire and a witch. You can, if you want to find me, people in the world, I am at bylaramiedean.com and at bylaramiedean on Instagram, and it is pretty much how it sounds. BYLARAMIEDEAN, and my new book is called Haunt Me Then and comes out October 14th.
Laramie's book comes out in 2 days. We're also going to be giving away a copy of Black Forest.
So cool.
which we've done before, but we will do again. I love this book. You could tell I've read it because the spine is
That's the
crinkly.
giveaway.
That's the giveaway.
Aw, thank you. You guys
Of
are
course,
awesome. Thanks
we
for having
absolutely
me.
loved having you on.
This was such a delight. You are one of the best guests we've ever had. Sorry, past guests. You're just so no, you're just so you just so perfectly weaved into our chat. So I just want to talk to you forever.
Yeah.
Aw.
Join us anytime. Buy Laramie's book. Follow Laramie on Instagram. Follow us on
follow
Instagram
you
at
guys
Keep
too,
It
yeah.
Weirdcast. Follow us. We're around. Join our Patreon at www.patreon.com/keepitweirdpodcast and head over to our YouTube channel to subscribe to our show and to our iTunes or Spotify to rate us 5 stars. I actually wanted to end this episode with a quote because I think it's appropriate for this episode as well, because we've had listeners in the past who have told us that they don't like it when we get political, and which is fine. Everyone's entitled to their own opinions, but this was a quote given by the showrunner of the Exorcist series on Fox, which is surprisingly excellent, by the way, 2 seasons. And this is showrunner Jeremy Slater. He was asked once about how making the lead priest in the series bisexual isolated some of the viewers of the show, and this is what he had to say about that. Good. Fuck you. I'm glad you didn't like it. I'm glad it ruined the show for you. You shouldn't have good things in your life. Keep it weird.
Keep it weird, bitch.